our second speaker tonight is Nicole Stark, and she was one of the first female developers in Brisbane, and she's passionate about encouraging more girls to make and play games. She was lead animator on Barclay's Sparkling Ice Show, Jimmy Neutron and Jet Fusion. And in 2011, Nicole, her husband and 4 daughters moved to Noosa and set up Disparity Games, with their first title, Run Fatty Run, reaching #1 on the Australian iOS charts. Please welcome Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Stark, and I want to talk to you about diversity in games, how games are changing, the people that make them are changing, and the people that play them are changing. Now, this change is happening whether we like it or not, but what's not to like? Now, I've been a woman in games since 1999, and I've loved it. I've never felt discriminated against, and as a nice bonus, I've always found it really easy to get time off to see my gynecologist. You just have to say gynecologist. Last year, I was lucky enough to meet Sherry Grainer-Ray, who's been an amazing advocate for women in the games industry, and she said that we should stop telling our horror stories and focus on the positive. Now, I'm going to ignore that today because the horror stories are really funny. Now, my first day at Chrome Studios, I did have a what have I done moment. I was given the big boss's old computer and no one had bothered to wipe it. So I loaded up the image viewer and it went straight to what he had been looking at last, which happened to be hardcore porn on the official company porn drive. A few months later, when the guys had gotten used to keeping the porn drive secret, I was asking one of the other artists for advice, and he said, "Give up, women are no good at 3D. You just can't visualize things 3-dimensionally. That's why you're such bad drivers." And later on in the year, they were planning a company paintball day, and one of the guys who forgot that I was there said, "Okay, but we have to have a rule about not bringing girlfriends. One of them will get hit and cry and ruin it for everybody." Now, you might be tempted to think, what a Burke. But he's not a bad person. I still work with him. I am proud to call him a friend. He's a great dad, and he's a volunteer firefighter in his spare time. Just like the guy from Borderlands 2 who described their co-op mode as girlfriend mode, he's probably not a Burke either. He might be, but he's probably not. That's just the sort of thing that gets said when you have a room full of guys and no women there to say, "Hey, that's not cool." We've just been getting games from one perspective: straight, white, nerd guys. And apparently they all want to look like Kratos. People who want to look like something different don't play their games though, so they don't identify as gamers and they don't want to make their own games. The female characters we get are also from the male perspective, so a lot of girls don't want to be them either. Surprisingly, I've never really identified as a stripper nun. I have 4 daughters who also love games, and I don't think any of them identify as stripper nuns either. Their father will sleep a lot better at night if they never do. According to a study done by the University of California, 90% of primary game characters are male. Apparently, early television underrepresented minorities as badly in the early days, but never really women, probably because we're not actually a minority. We are 50% of people. And you might be surprised to learn we're 50% of gamers too. More women play games than teenage boys, and yet the makers of Remember Me were repeatedly told, "Make your main character male or it won't sell." I guess that's why Tomb Raider is selling so badly. This is where indies come in to save the day. People who make games for love, not money. Different people in small teams. I forget what else I was going to say about that. Yes, people who have nothing to risk by experimenting. So now we have characters that can look like anything or aren't even necessary. Developers are finding audiences that no one guessed were out there, and those people are playing and loving games and thinking, hey, maybe I could make a game. There are games out there now about growing up with an alcoholic father, driving a German truck, dying, feng shui, cutting up excessive amounts of fruit, and being an overweight man just trying to escape life's tigers. Our next game deals with the insecurities faced by teenage girls and the difficulties faced by small business owners competing with mega companies. And also parkour and urbanization and getting pizzas delivered within a reasonable time frame. Because that's who we are. We are white nerds, but mostly female. Sorry, honey. And we like games with good narrative and parkour. Other indies who are from different places will like different things, and they'll make different games, some of which I will hate, some I will love, but I'll be glad that all of them are out there. Now, a lot of incubators and mentor programs are popping up all over the world. One thing we're doing is working with kids with autism on the Sunshine Coast. Their perspective is different, not less, and the world is better for them being able to express it. And lastly, EA now have a diversity and inclusion unit. So you can bet your bottom dollar there's money in diversity.